You know, I've been sizing up guys since I came to the WCW.
You know, I've always been a jam-up guy. You're a jam-up guy. You know, I've always been a jam-up guy.
Welcome, everyone, to the Jam Up Guys podcast. It's me, Rick, here with Richie, and today we're going to do our picks for the worst worker gimmicks ever. Now, what that means is it's our opinion, and we're going to be talking about in-ring performers whose gimmicks we absolutely hate. Now, we're not going to be talking about the gobbledygooker because all he did was get in a ring and dance, and he didn't fight anyone. So without further ado, we're just going to jump into it. Richie, hit me. Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is a recent one. I actually don't remember this wrestler's full name. They were an AEW wrestler. They had the librarian gimmick.
Oh, the librarian, Peter Avalon.
Peter Avalon. His name was escaping me. But that was a channel changer for me. There's just nothing in that a 45-year-old man in 2023 wants to relate or see about a librarian on a wrestling program these days.
You don't really hear about librarians being the most vicious of people, and I'm with you on that.
It would make a little bit more sense if it was more of a manager gimmick, I suppose. But being an in-ring performer, I mean, where do you expect to go with a librarian gimmick in 2023?
And you know, it's funny. It kind of got adapted into Chad Gable's personality, and I feel like he just did that, but a little better without the librarian.
Yes, but he just simply wasn't called a librarian. The librarian is a clincher. It's a channel changer for me. When I think of the worst gimmicks, it all comes down to, do they make me change the channel? And if they make me change the channel, to me, it's the worst gimmick.
That's a good idea. We should talk criteria. So yours is channel changing. Mine is, does it give me visceral anger? Does it make zero sense? Do I want to throw a rock through my television and then throw the television into a volcano?
Yeah.
And the following 5 check all those boxes for me. So my number 5 is the Yeti.
The Yeti.
He wasn't a Yeti. He was a mummy, but they called him the Yeti.
Yes.
He came out of ice, which was stupid. And then he humped Hulk Hogan.
He did. The humping Hulk Hogan was quite epic. And for that reason alone, I can't say I hate the Yeti, because he forever gave us that moment of time where it's him, it's Paul White, the Giant at the time, and Hulk Hogan, and the most sensual homoerotic hug in the middle of a ring I've ever seen a bunch of big giants have, and probably will ever see again.
It was a good hug. I mean,
it's quite something.
It was an impressive humping, but I think what threw me for a loop was the fact that they called him a Yeti and he was a mummy. He was clearly a mummy. Yetis are furry. I mean, I think I've never seen one, but from what I know about X creatures, which isn't that much, I guess, but they're more like a Bigfoot.
Yes.
He wasn't
very similar to a Bigfoot, but he is clearly a mummy. And despite creating that legendary moment of time with the ever so warm embrace in the middle of the ring, it was lousy. I don't know why anybody anywhere ever thought that was a good idea. It created a hilarious moment that is still funny today.
Yeah.
But
it was terrible.
It was just bad.
It was terrible. I need to suspend disbelief in my wrestling, which is why I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of modern wrestling. And I know people say it's impossible to get back the old Mid-South, Mid-Atlantic thing. I think that's bullshit. I think if you just try it a little harder, it doesn't matter if kayfabe isn't around anymore.
It doesn't matter.
Make it look like a sport. Lie to me. Game of Thrones, we know that's scripted.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do dance numbers and have a guy dressed as a mummy humping Robert Baratheon. I mean, maybe in season 8 they did, but you know, that's debatable. All right, moving right along. Hit me. Number 4.
My number 4, I think I have to go with meat.
Oh yeah.
Meat. And
Poor
that
Sean.
is that also falls under the category of wasted potential. I'm not necessarily saying that Stasiak's kid should have been the world champion running the place, but just on his look alone, it seems like they could have come up with something better for that guy than
Yeah.
meat. And his two managers, which were, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Miss Jacqueline,
Mm-hmm.
and Terry Runnels.
Terry Reynolds.
Yeah, and they were actually the stars, and he was, I guess, their slave.
I think he was their implied on-screen sex slave because they were
Yeah.
PMS at the time.
Yeah, PMS. That was it, PMS.
Um,
But I was just like, meat. I remember at the time watching that stuff live and just sitting on my couch and thinking to myself, meat. His name is Meat.
yeah. Imagine
And
getting the meat action figure for Christmas. You know, or like I don't know. You're
did it
playing.
even get that far? Did they make an action figure of Meat?
I I hope so actually. But imagine like playing WrestleMania 2000, or I don't even know if he was in that, but I don't know if he was in an old school game. You know, you're like, oh, I'm gonna select Meat.
I still have some old school games in the library. I might look and see if Meat happens to be on one later today.
I
guess I
might
could
make him in
Google and
2K.
save time though.
I think I'm gonna make him in 2K23 and just make him my champion. What the hell?
There
I'm gonna
you
go
go.
all in on Meat, but yeah, no, I'm right with you. I think he's terrible. My number 4 is the Fiend. I hate the Fiend.
You hate the Fiend.
I
Okay.
I
The
hate.
Fiend is an interesting topic these days. Keep going.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So I need to suspend some disbelief, and I don't love spooky bullshit. I like some spooky bullshit, but I don't know. You know, I want my Bray Wyatt as a swamp cultist. I thought he thrived in that situation. You know, he wasn't exactly Waylon Mercy because he didn't creep me out that much, but he was pretty close, and there was so much potential there. And then he comes back, and now he can teleport. I don't like when people teleport. What the hell? You know, if you could teleport, wouldn't you just do it all the time? Wouldn't you just do it in the ring?
just grab the title and bounce. Just be like, I'm out with the title. Yeah.
If you can do it in the ring, you should be. That's fine. But if you're not doing it in the ring, don't do it at all. Like in a Hell in a Cell or a steel cage match, you got to escape. I'm out. I teleported. Fuck y'all. Peace.
True.
Yeah, I
I
hated
can
it.
get behind that pick. I also enjoyed Waylon Mercy / Robert De Niro and Cape Fear Bray Wyatt. That worked for me. And when that first came on TV, I saw a little bit of it in NXT, but I wasn't watching NXT all the time back then. I was like, this is interesting. But then they got into a formula with him really quick where he'd play mind games with a main eventer, do a bunch of promos, go to the pay-per-view, lose.
He did lose a lot too.
Every single one. He'd play mind games with another main eventer, bunch of promos, pay-per-view, lose.
The kicker was that I feel like when Spivey was doing Waylon Mercy, we never got that run. Like we never got to see that run kind of, come to its full potential. So I kind of got blue balls with that gimmick. Like I wanted that gimmick to happen. So when Bray did it, I was pumped. But then, man, what's funny is I didn't even mind Firefly Funhouse as much as some people did. But I don't know.
It wasn't boring. It wasn't boring to watch.
It was entertaining, but it's just the teleporting. And then he was lit on fire.
The Fiend thing got too ridiculous, and it is my belief, without knowing. I mean, I'm just a fan. That's all I am as a fan. It is my belief that the mask and all that, it was cha-ching marketing. We can market that. We can sell masks. You can sell Halloween masks of that quality for quite a lot of money nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend that's his job. He makes Halloween masks for a living, and he sells them for a lot of money. So I think they saw marketing, but yeah, the teleporting and the magic powers. I didn't even like it when Undertaker and Kane did it. I liked Undertaker and Kane though.
Yeah.
Because they sold those gimmicks to me that you overlooked the silly crap. You're just like, it's whatever,
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, well, we'll get to that in a couple. So what's your number 3?
I'm going to have to go with a modern day pick. I'm going to have to go with Hit Row.
Really?
Hit Row, because without Swerve Strickland, they look like a bunch of jabronis who threw a song together on YouTube and just they think they're rappers. They don't look legit. They don't come across as professional. Without Swerve made it work, I think. And I think without Swerve, it does not work at all. It's cringe to me.
I can buy into that. It used to feel like Private Party seemed to me like they were like almost like the Wish.com version of Hit Row. But since Swerve left, and we've seen Mark Quinn like kind of be awesome. I mean, hope he gets healthy soon. That dude can go. But it feels like the script got flipped, and now Hit Row's kind of just a knockoff of Private Party.
Yeah, it doesn't work now. It lost everything that made it work somehow. And I guess it was all Swerve.
It was all Swerve.
I'm real high on Swerve these days, actually. And I have a lot of nice things to say about Swerve Strickland. And it just, when I saw it without him, I was just like, ooh, like I felt like secondhand embarrassment sitting there watching it somehow.
It's a little rough. It's a little rough to go with. I went in a different direction. I went with Canadian Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I hated that.
Oh, my goodness. I kind of forgot about that.
I don't mind if someone does like, the heel change and everything like that. Like, Slaughter is an Iraqi sympathizer. There was a time and place for that, but we've never been at war with Canada. And it just kind of came out. Not that I know of. I mean, I don't know, but if we have, I mean, that's kind of
They were trying to maybe jump on that leftover momentum from that legendary Bret Hart Foundation U.S. versus Canada thing that happened, because that was hot. That was a hot thing. And it seemed like sitting at home, it's like, man, U.S. and Canada might really go to war over Bret Hart talking shit.
Yeah.
So
but I mean,
thought, Canada, it'll be heat, because Hacksaw was the patriot, but now he loves Canada. And they thought it was going to be something it wasn't, obviously. I honestly somewhat forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty forgettable. I mean, the whole thing with Team Canada and WCW was a little bit of a clusterfuck as it was. But, I mean, you had some cool shit. You had when Lance Storm held friggin' every title basically for a while and then renamed the U.S. title the Canadian title. I thought that was great.
That was great. Yeah, I remember that.
But just the random schmoes they stuck him with, it didn't have the impact that the Hart Foundation did, because the Hart Foundation, you're talking Bret the Hitman Hart, Owen Hart,
right?
The British Bulldog, sympathizers on the side. You had Furnace and LaFon, but then you also had Brian Pillman and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. You had guys who could go and had name cachet. And now we're going to nothing against Lance Storm. I think he did a phenomenal job for what he had to work with, but it's like Hacksaw past his prime, and then Major Guns, and I think Elix Skipper, who
I forgot. Wow.
I wasn't aware he was Canadian. If he is, I apologize, but he never really seemed very pro Canada until he just got thrown in that group. And it maybe if Hacksaw was still in his in his go mode, he was still like the guy who could fight Andre and all these other people, I'd buy it. But at that point, it was like, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. I'd forgotten about that one. But yeah, that could make a list. I can see where that would make somebody's list.
I just didn't like it. But we're going to move right on to number 2. We're getting into the big stuff here. So who's your number 2?
There's a couple ways I could go. I'm going to have to go with Bastion Booger.
Oh, yeah.
Bastion Booger was bad. And before that, I know he was Norman the Lunatic in WCW, which was at least entertaining. Was it WCW? Was Norman the Lunatic WCW?
Yeah, because he was with Captain Mike Rotunda for a while.
Yeah, and he did a lot of stuff with Cactus Jack. I remember that too. Yeah. Okay, so that was at least entertaining. And he legit sold being crazy, being crazy. And then Bastion Booger was just gross to be gross. And I think that was the one of those prime examples of what only Vince McMahon thinks is funny.
Yes.
Take a 400-pound obese man and basically make him wear strings all over his body so that you just see every pore. And I'm sure Vince McMahon thought it was hilarious. We've seen 1,000 examples since then of what seems to be going on in Vince McMahon's mind.
The mustache is incredible.
The mustache is epic. And so it's just the worst example of the worst aspects of Vince McMahon. And it was during that time where it was really hard to stay a fan because there was, I mean, you still had Bret Hart, you had Shawn Michaels, you had Undertaker, you know, Razor Ramon, like you still had good people. Those are the people that kept me watching. But then,
everyone else was like a village person. They all had like a vocation or a job. Yes.
And it's just, it was so, and then he, in the middle of a match, he'd go out and steal some kid's ice cream bar and he'd steal the kid's WWF ice cream bar and he'd eat it. And they're like, what a no good human being. He stole that little boy's ice cream bar. And then they're just trying to sell their ice cream bars with Bastion Booger.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was just the worst of what WWF/E is capable of to me.
It was definitely them giving into their worst inhibitions. That's a great example of that. Jesus, I'm going a little more modern with mine. I hate Jungle Boy as a gimmick.
Wow, really?
I mean, you're on a show with arguably some of the best professional wrestlers on the planet. FTR, now CM Punk, thank God. Hell, D-Bry and, you know, even the whole Blackpool Combat Club. At least they're taking things seriously. But now you got a guy who's been there for 4 years. And, I mean, they're slowly getting off it. But, I mean, by now, can't you just call him Jack Perry? He's not from the jungle. He's from Los Angeles. We know who his dad is. His dad was in 90210.
His dad was very famous, yes.
He's not Tarzan. That's stupid. You know, I don't know, man. It's super cringe to me. It's like, I don't know. And when he came out in like the loincloth and shit and like a boy and his dinosaur, come on.
Well, this is gonna maybe surprise you, but we're gonna disagree on that one. I gotta disagree because for whatever reason, I guess we all have the guilty pleasure. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus together. Forget Marco Stunt. I mean, my God, please.
Oh, I have.
Forget Marco Stunt.
Yes.
But Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus together on some level, I don't know why it worked for me. Maybe I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it when they came out together. I know there's some people, traditionalists that we all listen to and love that don't have a lot of good things to say about Dino Douche. And but he's a big guy. He does have athletic ability. And if they could just do something more to tweak that gimmick. I'm getting off on a tangent. But those two together, it kind of worked for me. I know he's Luke Perry's son. I know this. He should never do a promo ever.
Oh no, he shouldn't be allowed to talk.
But I don't hate Jungle Boy. There's a lot of things wrong with AEW, and Jungle Boy is almost the least of it to me. Although he did piss me off at his little media scrum when he imitated Punk, when he sat there and ate the muffins with the blood on his face, basically making fun of Punk. He lost points with me that day.
Yeah. You know, it's nothing against Jack Perry as a person or, you know, a worker. I don't think he should ever speak on a microphone ever again, or he should get extensive training and actually listen to, I don't know, Christian Cage or some other
anybody
that he's probably friends with. Just anybody, and just watch MJF cut a promo and study it. But it's just, you know, I'm with you on the fact that Jurassic Express was fine. It worked as a duo, but since the breakup, can we just stop calling him Jungle Boy or Jungle Jack? He's not from the fucking jungle. He's from Hollywood. There's no jungles in Hollywood. I've never been to California, but I know enough about geography to know that there aren't any jungles in Hollywood, California. And I can't suspend that disbelief.
They called it the concrete jungle back in the day, brother. Come on now.
Oh, okay. Well, see, okay. Oh, shit.
But it's not like Jack Perry was from the streets now, was he? He lived in
But he's also,
yeah.
You know what? That would somehow be worse if he was presenting himself from the streets.
It would be way worse. It would be Dominic without the irony.
Oh, Dom's great though. He's
He's
just
killing it. He's killing it. He
All right,
went from please fire that guy to being one of the best things.
Oh God. Now I want him versus Cody and Brandy versus Rhea, just for the promos. I don't care about what happens in the ring.
If Brandy versus Rhea lasted longer than 10 seconds, I would be upset.
Oh yeah, I mean honestly though, kind of same with Dom and Cody. I mean Cody's on the next level right now, and Dom is fucking. He's real good. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for his in-ring work, but he shouldn't go long with Cody. That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
He doesn't need to have long matches with anybody. He's not the Iron Man athlete. He doesn't need to be.
He's almost like the Pillman of that group, which is great. He's there to piss people off, and he's doing a hell of a job.
He's the heater, and he's getting all the heat. So,
all right, let's move on to number one. Who do you got
first? You want me to go?
Oh, please.
This might be the one that maybe it'll surprise people. Maybe it won't. Buff Bagwell is my number one.
Really?
I despise. Let me tell you just a quick story.
Please do.
I'm going to get to the point real quick. I started watching wrestling in 1985.
Okay.
I was 7 or 8 years old. I watched everything. I watched WWF. I watched NWA. I watched Championship Wrestling from Florida with Gordon Soley. I watched AWA on ESPN. Mm-hmm. Anything that was wrestling, I watched it. I didn't care what it looked like. I didn't care who had a better looking pro shot show. I loved all of it. Buff Bagwell was the first channel changer in wrestling for me. I could sit through anything and anyone, no matter how bad and how much I disliked it. Buff Bagwell on Nitro, when he would come out and talk to the camera the entire time, and then during his matches, talk to the camera, do like a body slam, and then go to the corner and be like, hey, you people at home, dirk-a-dur. During every match, it made my blood boil. Thinking about it now, I'm getting hot. There's something about Buff Bagwell that has rubbed me all kinds of wrong from that day forward. I just do not like that man. I've listened to podcasts that he was on. Actually, Stone Cold interviewed him on his old podcast. And he's so unbelievably full of shit, it just comes through the speaker of your phone. And I just do not like that man. He was the first channel changer for me. He was the first guy in my entire life that I was like, I cannot watch wrestling right now because this man is on TV. He was the first one.
So does this carry over to Judy Bagwell as well?
I feel bad for Judy Bagwell.
Okay, because Judy Bagwell's a saint. And
I feel like she got taken for a ride somehow. I don't know. I just feel like she got wronged in some way that we don't know about.
She could cut a better promo than half the WCW.
She wasn't bad. She wasn't bad.
It's really weird. That's really interesting. I don't know. I kind of liked. A lot
of people liked him. Yeah.
I liked Marcus Alexander Bagwell when he was the up and comer. I liked Buff. I thought he was hilarious. I liked the talk to the camera shit because at the time it was really different and no one else was doing it. But I can see where you're coming from. I mean,
I hated it. I don't know why. The talking to the camera during the matches especially made me insane. I don't know why it did, but I understand he was the only one doing it. It helped get him over. I mean, he was a star. He was one of the bigger fish in WCW once he had the buff gimmick.
That's true.
And I'm on an island on that one, but all I know is for me in my lifetime, he was the first channel changer. I could not handle him.
I can understand the energy though, because honestly, I mean, I don't agree on Buff because I like Buff, but I understand the energy because I have that same visceral reaction with Austin Theory. I can't.
Austin Theory, really?
I can't fucking stomach Austin Theory. I don't like looking at him. I don't like watching him wrestle. I don't like listening to him cut a promo. I don't like anything that guy does. I get it. He's young. He's in good shape. He can work. He can talk. I just don't like him.
Yeah.
He's not my number one though.
Okay. Who is he? I thought you were calling out your number one just then.
No. That was just a what's it called? A transition. Thank you. My number one is Kane.
Kane.
I hate Kane. I've hated it since the start. I thought everything involved with him just made the product stupid. He's burned, then he's not burned. He can't talk, now he can talk. He can conjure fire, but again, he doesn't do it during the match. He has to have a special match to do it. Listen, dude, if I had pyromancy powers, I would be the world champion of every division because I would just light everyone on fucking fire. And they wouldn't have a chance to do anything on the contrary because they'd be on fire. I hated Isaac Yankem. I hated Fake Diesel. I don't like anything Glenn Jacobs has ever done in the wrestling industry. I don't like him as a worker. I've never met the man, but I've read some of his stuff. I don't like him as a person. I don't like anything about Kane. I thought it was one of the worst gimmicks ever. I think it made the Undertaker's gimmick worse, and made it exponentially more unbelievable. Then there's all the Katie Vick bullshit, and I know that wasn't his fault, but I mean, come on. Then he's friends with X-Pac.
Yeah.
And then he's not friends with X-Pac. And then
I have to disagree about Kane now. The human being behind Kane today, knowing what I know, I don't have nice things to say. But going back to when the gimmick first happened, and Kane worked for me for a lot of years. It worked for me for a little while there. I liked it. Undertaker needed somebody to work with, that actually, it's impossible to put Undertaker in jeopardy. He's 6'10", he's a badass. He'd been around he was already a legend then. And it's hard to find a heel to put Undertaker in jeopardy. And you had Kane, the story's a little contrived. It's a little too not complex for wrestling. I don't mean that, but it's just like the secret brother and your manager is the father of your half brother because he had sex with your mom and the funeral parlor that burned down. Like, it's a little much, it's like, I can suspend my disbelief, but you're kind of asking me to stretch my limits here.
I can respect that. And honestly, like, don't get me wrong. I like a lot of stupid shit. Like, I didn't mind what was it? Like the Ice Palace of Death or whatever the shit that was.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was bad. Bad.
Because the payoff was you had that bitchin' match between Vader and Sting.
Yeah.
It had the killer payoff. You just had to deal with this fucking nonsense mini movie to get there. But this wasn't a mini movie. This went on for years and years and years. And it really, what really kind of soured me on it was around the time that Kane came in was the time that the Undertaker started to change a little and I get, you can't keep that character how you had it and, up on that pedestal the entire time. Because if you remember, the Undertaker used to be invincible, which was kind of stupid. I hated that too. I didn't like how you could only stop him by hitting him with the urn or Hulk Hogan's leg drop or something not working for him, brother. Yeah, But I mean, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. I know a lot of people love Kane, revere him. I know he's important to WWE.
When it first happened, it seemed like a short-term gimmick. It's like he's going to work with Undertaker for a while, and then he'll be around for a minute, and then he'll just be gone.
Yeah.
So the fact that it lasted as long as it did, I think you have to give it to the guy that he took something that had short-term written all over it and turned it into a very long career.
Oh, please don't get me wrong. I think for what he worked with, I think Glenn Jacobs as a performer did an excellent job. It's just not my cup of tea. It really ties into, again, with the spooky bullshit and the Fiend shit. It's like, listen, if the guy's burned, you can't just be unburned.
Yeah.
Like,
and then they said that the wounds were on the inside, that he was never burnt. I know it was a bit much.
That's not how fire works.
No, it's not the inside fire that burned you. It's the outside fire that burned you.
It's not like the funeral parlor burned down with depression. It burned down with fire. It's not like the mental assault that Chris Jericho suffers at the hands of the hospitality industry. It's
right.
They played it like this fucking place burned down. This man was burned beyond recognition. Had the little voice changer thing, which was hilarious for a while.
It was pretty funny actually.
But then all of a sudden he can talk. It was like in that Simpsons episode where it's like he can talk, I can sing. You know, it was like suddenly Kane's like doing dance numbers and shit. It's like, get out of here. Just get the fuck off.
By the time we got down to corporate Kane, I was barely watching anyway. I was barely watching that company at that point.
Yeah, I was just watching reruns of Mid-South at that point and just
me too. I was just going in the vault watching old stuff.
Just praying things would get better. But well, yeah.
That's a top 5.
So that is certainly a top 5. What do you guys think? I'm sure a lot of people are going to go tell me to fuck myself, but it's okay because I'm used to it. And I really
that's okay. Same.
Yeah. So, what's your top 5, everyone? If you like what you heard, like, subscribe, do all the things that one would do if you want to keep seeing our particular brand of bullshit. Richie, you got anything you want to plug today?
No, not today. Currently kicking back on a medical leave. I got about another week before I go back to work, so I got nothing. All
right. Well, well, let's make this the most abrupt ending ever. So thank you for joining us, guys. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all your support. If you're giving us any, and if not, you know what? We appreciate the hell out of you too, because what the fuck? It's 2023, right? All right. Well, that's it for us. Jam Up Guys out. Feel the power of love.